All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the language of deception itself. We're talking smoke and mirrors, the actual words people use to build illusions, bend the truth, and just plain mislead you. I mean, just think about that for a second. What if you could spot a lie? Just instantly, because you knew the right word for it. What if you could see right through a flimsy argument or a totally false claim? Well, that's exactly the power we're going to unlock today. So, think of this explainer as your personal playbook. We're going to arm you with a complete toolkit for critical thinking so you can see exactly how the magic trick is done. Ready? Let's dive in. Okay, first up, we're looking at the verbs. These are the action words, right? They tell us how deception is actually performed, what someone is doing when they're trying to fool you. So, the most basic one, the starting point, is to fabricate. This is literally building a lie from scratch, just making something up out of thin air. It really is the foundation for a lot of deception. Okay, so if fabricate is like simple construction, then to concoct, well, that's more like being a master chef. You're taking all these different ingredients, a little bit of truth here, a dash of falsehood there, and you're mixing them all together into this really complex, detailed, and honestly, often very believable story. So here's the key difference, right? To fabricate something is just to make it up. Simple. But to concoct a story, that's about skillfully mixing things together to create a much more sophisticated lie. Think of it this way. One's a basic blueprint, the other is a full-on gourmet recipe. All right, next up we've got Prevaricate. Now this isn't about telling an outright lie, oh no. This is the art of dodging the question. Beating around the bush, doing anything to avoid giving a straight answer. It's basically deception by leaving things out. And that leads us perfectly into our next word, obfuscate. The best way to think about this is creating a dense fog. Someone is obfuscating when they take a really simple truth and just bury it under a mountain of jargon or tons of irrelevant data or super confusing language, anything to stop you from seeing what's really going on. And to wrap up our verbs, we have connive. Okay, think of this one as deception as a team sport. It's when people secretly plot together to do something wrong. A perfect example is when corporations collude to fix prices. They're conniving, working together in secret to cheat all of us. So we've got the actions down. Now let's talk about the nouns, the words for the actors and the ideas behind the curtain. These words give a name to the people doing the deceiving and to the very nature of the deceit itself. And really, at the heart of all this is the idea of duplicity. It literally means being two-folded, being two-faced. It's that classic saying one thing but meaning or doing something completely different. It's the absolute core concept of having that hidden deceptive side. And one of the most classic forms of duplicity, it's hypocrisy. We all know this one. It's the whole do as I say, not as I do thing. It's when someone holds everyone else to a certain standard but completely fails to live up to it themselves. Now, here's a really important one, a key actor in this whole theater of deception, the demagogue. So what is a demagogue? It's a person, usually a leader of some kind, who just throws rational argument out the window. Instead, they appeal to emotion, to fear, to prejudice, all as a way to grab and hold onto power. And this whole idea of misdirection brings us to a fantastic word, legerdemain. Okay, literally, it means sleight of hand, just like a magician's trick. But we use it figuratively to talk about any kind of clever deception where your attention is pulled over here while the real sneaky action is happening over there. Okay, so we've covered the actions, the verbs, and the actors, the nouns. Now we need the adjectives. These are the describing words, the labels you can use for the falsehoods you see. Think of them as the telltale signs that something is off. Let's kick things off by comparing two different kinds of secrecy. On one hand, you have a covert action. This is planned secrecy, very intentional, like a spy on a covert operation. But then you have a furtive action. This kind of secrecy comes from guilt or the fear of getting caught, like a furtive glance. See the difference? One is strategic, the other is just anxious. Okay, this next part is so important because not all falsehoods are created equal. You've got three different flavors here. First, a mendacious statement. That's just a lie, plain and simple. Then, a spurious claim. That means it's fake, not genuine, like a phony antique. And finally, a fallacious argument. This one isn't necessarily a lie, it's just built on faulty logic. And trust me, knowing the difference between these three is absolutely key to taking them apart. Oh, and I love this next word, it's so specific. Meretricious. Something is meretricious if it looks incredibly attractive and glamorous on the outside, but underneath it's totally cheap, tacky, and has no real value or integrity. It is the definition of all style and zero substance. And here's a perfect example from today's world. You know that social media influencer whose life looks absolutely perfect, but then it comes out that the whole thing is staged, it's all fake, funded by debt? That is a meretricious facade. It's just a big, flashy, hollow shell. All right, let's draw a line between two words that deal with empty grandeur. First, you have grandiose. A grandiose plan sounds huge and impressive, but it's totally impractical or unrealistic. It's never going to happen. On the other hand, portentous describes a manner of acting. It's when someone is being all pompous and overly serious, trying to make something seem way more important than it actually is. So, what's the one skill that ties all of this together? It's cunning. Cunning is that special brand of intelligence, that craftiness that powers the whole deception. A cunning person is just really, really skilled at using all these tricks, deceit, evasion, to get exactly what they want. So there you have it. We've gone through the verbs, the nouns, and the adjectives. You are now equipped with a seriously powerful set of words, a real toolkit for seeing right through the smoke and pulling back that curtain. So let's put it all together. What does this mean for you? Well, now you can do more than just get that vague feeling that something isn't right. You can actually name it. You can recognize a demagogue's emotional appeals. You can spot a fallacious argument from a mile away. You can identify corporate collusion. You can question spurious data. And you can see straight through those meretricious, flashy displays. And that really brings us to the most important question of all. Look, giving a name to something, that's the first step. It's the first step to understanding it and ultimately to challenging it. So the question I want to leave you with is a simple one. Now that you can name the illusion, how are you going to challenge it?